Okay, today I'm going to be talking about an area where I see a lot of men feel resistance. And that question is, should we talk about the past? What if we've already talked about it a lot? Why should we keep talking about it? What if it makes it worse? How often should we talk about it? I will answer all of those questions today in this episode. Welcome back to the Relationships Made Simple podcast for men with me, Bryce Bauer. I just finished up a 4-day in-person men's retreat here in St. George, Utah, and it was incredible. Many laughs, deep cries, and big ahas. I don't know why it always happens this way, but for some reason, when men are given a safe space to open up, to share, to be themselves, magical things happen. Between the mix of groups, going on a hike, doing a cold plunge sauna experience, a breathwork session, with so much of this focused on helping men regulate their nervous systems, I think I figured out a system that really works. So at bare minimum, I will do this next year in September. Hopefully I'll do one in the spring too. And I just wanted to share that with you because if you've ever thought about doing some work on yourself, or maybe you have and it hasn't given you exactly what you want, being a part of a men's group or going to an in-person men's retreat can make a huge difference in your life. Okay, so let's get back to the topic. When I see men resist talking about the past, often what they're referring to is times in their relationship when they did or didn't do something and that had an impact on their partner. They still have feelings about it. Now, if their partner did or didn't do something to them, there's usually more openness to talk about that, but they don't want the spotlight turned towards them. If you are really trying to step up as a partner, I have some confronting news for you. You can't outrun your past. It will always be a part of your present day experience. And if you're used to compartmentalizing things and just moving on and grinding through in your life, and your partner doesn't want to do it that way, you have two choices. You can either keep doing it your way and expecting them to do the same, or you can surrender to the reality that your relationship needs some support, that something is trying to come forward to teach you and to help you grow. If your mindset is bring it on, I want to learn as much about myself as I can in this life, then you're not going to be worried about talking about the past. But if you just want to get through life and try to stay as comfortable as possible, then I do suggest putting the blinders on, not paying too much attention to things, and just moving forward. There's no right or wrong here. The only problem with that way is that you might lose some relationships that are really important to you in the process. And for some reason, I often go back to car analogies. Imagine that your car was leaking oil. So you bring it into the mechanic, and he says, there's a leak somewhere. We're going to have to get under the hood, take some things apart to find out where it is. I doubt any man would say, just put more oil in it and I'll get out of here. And it would be even stranger if he said, I just want to keep moving forward. I want to get out of here. And it would be even stranger if he said, I just want to keep moving forward. I don't want to focus on the past. Now, I can imagine some of you hearing this and thinking, well, I have tried to work on this. I have tried to fix it myself. And maybe we've even gone to get some professional support and it hasn't worked. What do I do with that? What I would say to that is if you've spent most of the time trying to fix it yourself and you don't know much about relationships, it's possible you could have made it worse. Just like you could make a car worse if you tried to fix it yourself and you didn't know anything about cars. Second, relationships are more complex than vehicles. So you might have to shop around to find the right modality, the right practitioner for your specific issue. And whereas you can drop your car off at the mechanic and they'll fix it, and you really don't need to learn anything about cars nowadays, with relationships, you do. So don't expect to go in and have someone fix your relationship. You need to be a part of the process. You need to be learning during the journey. This is another area where I see men get stuck. They will literally ask me, Can you fix my relationship? Can you make my wife stay with me? Can you fix me? Some version of that. And I have to be honest with them and tell them that they're going to have to put in some work and make their relational education a part of the journey. And this is where the personal trainer metaphor works. Yeah, you can come in an hour a week or every other week, and I can show you how to do things and you can get some reps. But if you're eating McDonald's and not exercising outside of the sessions, you're probably not going to see much progress. And what I've found through my own process and working with men is the number one thing that we're really trying to overcome and explore is our resistance. Many men don't want to confront their own fragility with their emotions or admit their lack of understanding to reach out for help. Men do this in big and subtle ways. A man who is unable to acknowledge or confront the resistance sounds like this. I don't want to talk about the past. I don't get why you still think about that. Our therapist sucked. We've already tried everything. I don't know what you want me to do or say. Or they just throw their hands up in the air. A man who's committed to the journey says this: I'll do whatever it takes because I care about you, me, and us. If you or I are holding on to anything from the past, that is a relational issue and I'm willing to talk about it. I'm going to go figure out what's going on with me here. I realize I play a part in your pain and I'm going to figure out what I'm doing or not doing. And I'm committed to this journey no matter what happens. I'm not going to put conditions of my healing onto you. That's what an empowered, heart-centered, self-aware man says. And I want to answer some of these questions that come up about the details. So first question is, what if it makes it worse? It's possible that both of you do not have the capacity to hold whatever's going on right now. You can't really do this repair co-regulation process yet. If that's the case, sometimes it is better to focus on both of you as individuals first. Jenny and I don't work with all couples that come to us together. Probably 25% of the time, we'll tell them that you need to do individual work, get clear on what you're really wanting here, and to process what's going on before you're ready to bring it into the couple space. And it's okay to take an intentional break from talking about things if it is making it worse. The caveat being that you have measurable ways to track your own progress. Both parties need to be doing something. And even if your partner's not really pulling their weight, it's going to work better if you do something on your end. And to make this really simple, if you have an issue with your anger or infidelity or depression or addiction, there might be 1, 2, or 3 things. Fucking write those down. Give them a number, 1 to 10. How well am I doing with this? And search out people that can help with that specific issue. I know it sounds cliche, but there's only a handful of options. You can learn on your own through books and podcasts, or you can get help from professionals through group and individual work. That's not to say that you can't work on your diet or exercise still, or if you need to talk to a psychiatrist, that might be worth doing. But my advice to you would be to hone in on the specific issues that you're dealing with. It's also worth paying attention to specific behaviors that do make it worse. So if you two tend to get into your worst disagreements when you're drinking, I'd suggest setting a period of sobriety. Why not? It's just pure damage control. If your wife is upset that you're too hard on the kids, try being softer for a period of time and see how that works. My goal is to help you be informed on what's really happening. Take in the data, take in the feedback, and make changes where you can. I also want to highlight the word worse because that can mean different things. Just because big feelings come up, maybe anger or sadness from your partner, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's making things worse. You might not like it. It might make you feel uncomfortable. It might bring up feelings in you, but sometimes that's what has to happen. Some things are difficult to process and there can be a buildup and then an explosion. So as long as you're both physically safe, big emotions don't have to be a problem. Your wife or partner might actually be healing when you think they're going crazy because you've never really seen someone do that up close and it seems out of control. That's kind of how emotions work. In order to feel them, sometimes we have to release control and just let them come forward and be in the messiness and have compassion for the messiness. Another question is the why. Why talk about things in the past? I think there are 2 big reasons. One, if something's coming up from the past in the present, it becomes a present issue. Just like I said, we can't run from our past. We are the culmination of our past expressing itself in the present moment. So sometimes it just does that. And when something from the past comes up from one or both partners, that means it's coming up for the relationship. And if you haven't had much experience doing the repair process and connecting over shared pain, then this can always look like two steps back. But that doesn't mean you don't need to talk about it. It means that you have to learn to communicate about it better. I love doing this with couples. There's some issue that they've gone back and forth with for 5 years, 10 years. And in one conversation, they find a place to connect. There's some healing that happens. Sometimes this can happen in just minutes by looking each other in the eye and just saying, I'm sorry, or I hear you, or I feel regretful that I did that. And they've been missing that all along. There can be some real magic that happens, but often it can take time to figure out what exactly that thing is that's needed. So I don't get too attached to the why question. You can kind of ask that about anything indefinitely. It just is. So what's happening. So let's put our big boy pants on and confront it. Now, another important question that we get asked is, how often should we talk about things? And this is a tricky one because depending on what's happening in your life, with your jobs, with raising children, with energy levels, with sickness, with other people in the mix, I don't have a black and white answer. Obviously, if most of your conversations go poorly, I'd suggest that you probably need some help if it's really imbalanced. That doesn't mean that you two can't try new ways. Maybe you learn a communication practice online and you try that instead. Usually, if the relationship is feeling mostly stressful, that means that there's been a buildup. There's not a lot of safety there. And so having a witness who can hold space for you two and direct is going to be what's going to work most effectively. For most couples, I think you need at least 10 minutes of connection time per day if you're living together, no matter how busy you are. That should be the goal, bare minimum. At least 10 minutes of present-centered checking in per day. That doesn't mean that you have to dive into the hard stuff every time, but that will give you a gauge as to know what's really happening with your partner and for you to share that with them. Earlier on in our relationship, Jenny and I would set aside an hour on Saturdays to talk about how we're really doing and our relationship. And we did that for a while, probably about a year. It was nice to have that intentional space planned so that sometimes when little things came up, we could consciously table them and maybe write them down and bring them into our Saturday session. So I think it's a delicate balance. Sometimes you do have to talk about the hard stuff consistently while having some mindfulness around what each of your capacities are, which can be balanced with just how are we feeling in the moment with each other. Many couples get stuck in all the content, who's right or who's wrong, wanting to be heard and understood at the same time. This is where taking turns, each of you gets a set amount of time just to share while the other person reflects. That can be helpful. And I suppose through all this, you just have to trust where the energy is leading you. If you feel like you two are making progress, keep doing what works. If you two are getting stuck or you feel like you're taking steps back, my mentality, my mode of operation is to reach out for help. And above all else, I want to drill this into your brain. Do not make your partner wrong for wanting to talk about the past. You can say, that's scary for me. I don't know how to do that. I think we should get some help, or I'm willing to try, but I might need to take a break. Those are all perfectly fine responses, but continually asking, why do we have to talk about this? And having a shitty attitude does not work. And you probably already know this. So that's what I got for you guys today. If you want more information on how to work with me or Jenny and I, men's groups, all that, I will include some links in the description. I'll see you next week.